So you guys, so A, B, C, and D, and then if you want to change speakers, you basically it's mini A, mini B, isn't it?
Yeah, mini B.
So A, B, C, and D, dim cut. That's the master volume, and with both these two on unlit, that's the Genelex.
You've got a pencil and paper.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
yeah, Ben.
if there's any confusion. And we've had a lot of inquiries from many of our customers, whether they be amateurs or project studios and professionals alike, as to how these boxes sound, and more importantly, what the differences are between all the different converters. So rather than speculate, we decided to line them up together and see what the differences are, and see if there's anything any differences we might be able to draw out of that. So what we have is we have a Pro Tool system running 8.1 software, and we've got all 4 interfaces set up on this system, and we've taken a lot of time with Sam and Ben to line it up, our esteemed engineers at Metropolis, to get the lineup precisely exactly the same on the input and the output, so within less than 0.1 of a dB, so that I wouldn't imagine you'd be able to perceive any difference there. So lineup's plus 22, so minus 18 to plus 4, as you'd expect. And our sound source is initially we're going to do 2 tests. The first test is we're going to essentially have a CD player playing various tunes, and the output of this CD player is going into a pair of inputs on each converter, and we're going to compare the differences there. So like I said, rather than us speculating on differences, we've brought a fantastic selection of some of the world's finest engineers and mixers. We've got Donal here, Donal Hodgson. We've got Cenzo Townsend, hello. We've got Simon Campbell and Sam Okell and Stephen Street. So we've tried to be as fair as possible. Each converter is lined up precisely the same. They're all clocking from the same source, which is a small limitation in the test, but for this purpose we assume that any differences between internal and external clock will be replicated to all 4 units equally. So that's a small limitation, but I think other than that, the test is as fair and true as possible. So it's a blind test, initially, at least, so they don't know which one's which, and neither do we, neither do I at least.
We're going to sort that out.
Yeah, so we're gonna sort that out. So only Sam will know which one's which. So I won't be making any comments because that wouldn't be fair. The guys are obviously free to say whatever they want. I guess the idea is take notes. We've got A, B, C, and D. So just to summarise, I don't know what the order is going to be, but the interfaces we're looking at is the Digidesign 192, the Avid HD I, the Prism 88 XR, and the Apogee Symphony I. So these are kind of the latest converters, and they're pretty industry standard converters.
As far as I'm concerned, as producer, the performance, it doesn't matter what converter is, if the performance is better and the converter isn't as good, it doesn't matter to me so much. But sonically, at the end of the day, when it comes down to the final mix and everything, and I would say for me B and D were the best one, the best 2. D for me was much more, it seemed to open everything up. B I thought projected the bottom end a little bit better. Yeah, just the things in the middle, it seemed to kind of, but D seemed to kind of open things up a little bit more. Kind of how I remembered the radar being when we used to kind of mix off the radar really, and we'll use the radar for tracking as well. So that's my personal choice. Out of the 4, I would say B and D were just a little bit better.
You know what it's like? It can be so deceptive, can't it? 0.05 of a dB can, or 0.005. I know.
I think it was good. Less blind, and we didn't know beforehand. I really think it's.
I know, but in a mix situation, 0.1 of a dB does make a massive difference. I know if you're listening to sources on their own in solo, you can't perceive a difference, but there is. It's just It's tricky, that, really. Interesting I picked B, though.
Yeah, I like D. I did.
So B is the new HD converter, and D is the new Apogee. And Prism, which I use all the time because I love it, is A, the one I didn't like.
Yeah, we did to start. No, you did to start with. You said A was your favourite.
But it was the high end. That's not how I think of a Prism. But
maybe the others are dull.
Maybe.
I preferred A to C.
You prefer A to C?
I preferred A to C to C. I mean, if I was to go through it, B was definitely better than C, and A wasn't. A was.
But if you'd known,
two.
or if it had been 4 or 5 years ago and you knew which ones were which, you'd probably be quite surprised that.
So I was expecting much more of a difference, especially between the big boys and the 192, to be honest. Especially between the Prism and the 192, I was expecting to hear a much bigger difference.
Mm.
I've never actually A-B'd the two before. It's too depressing.
Shall we find out which one's which then?
Play a session, I'll send it to whichever groups, we'll see which converter lights up and then which
So you don't really
comes
know what
back.
it is?
I'm not going to do it for my paper just in case I'm wrong. Anything.
There's something there, yeah. Place.
I'll tell you what. Yeah.
Something there, which one?
Was it the sealed envelope?
Yeah, so I can see which one it is from here.
So the Apogee,
So that would be which one?
D. Apogee, ensemble is D. New Apogee.
Yeah. Symphony.
Okay. That one is the new one.
So Apogee on D,
Apogee D.
HDIO on B.
D. 192 C.
Alright, so that's...
Shit, that was my least favourite.
Cenzo's going to jump in.
I've only got 8 of them.
So that leaves Jew, Prism, 1A.
Though that we are clocking them all from the same clock source.
As opposed to their own internal clocks.
Yeah.
Which we generally do that anyway, to be honest.
Yeah, but there's a variable there. That
Right.
The clock is definitely I'm going to take that as my get out.
if you really wanted to do it properly, you'd need 4 rigs, you know, side by side. But obviously that's A, not very realistic, and B, we didn't really have time to do this.
But you know, it does demonstrate to me how close things are. To be, and I know it's cumulative, and if I had 64 of them across a mix, because I still use 64 outputs, it does become more critical then, I think.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I struggled. And
I struggled.
I don't think I would have gotten it right, if I'm honest.
We've gotten it right. What do you mean, guessing what they were?
Yeah.
But we're not tasting wine. I don't think I don't think that matters, does it? Well, if you guess which one's correct.
That B is definitely an improvement on C, so it means that Avid are going in the right direction with the converters. Which is nice to know, because it could have. That's why I think it was really important we knew it was a blind test, you know, so we don't get swayed by any preconceptions. And I think it shows that they have improved, definitely.
I think D was probably a little bit more flattering in terms of it, you know, as you were saying, the reverb, the top end, the reverb tails, the width, but does that come also because it's a little bit brighter and therefore it'll sound wider?
It definitely go wider.
Yeah. No, I agree, but Apogee's always done that, hasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know, I guess, yeah, I guess that's why people like using it.
But I felt the vocals, the centre, the core of it, I think sounded best on B.
So yeah, so there you have it, guys. You've heard the feedback from the guys. So I think on the whole, the conclusion is that there's really not an awful lot to it, and that all these converters sound pretty close to each other. Different people ended up liking different converters on different material. I think it's fair to say that the previous generation converter, the 192IO, perhaps fared a bit less well than the others. But yeah, on the whole, all the converters sound pretty similar, I'd say. Some of them had better focus on the vocals, some of them had slightly improved highs, but yeah, there's really not much to it. So yeah, I hope you found it interesting, and I hope it helps you decide in future. Thank you very much.